What if the smiling family you invited into your living room every week, the one that preached love, discipline, and doing what's right, was hiding something far darker than anyone imagined? What if the lessons meant to build strong children were instead used to justify cruelty, isolation, and pain? Today's story isn't just about a YouTube mom who fell from grace. It's about how authority, belief, and influence can slowly twist into something dangerous, and how the warning signs were hiding in plain sight. This is the story behind the shocking true crime documentary about Ruby Franke, a case that stunned millions, divided families, and forced an uncomfortable conversation about parenting, power, and the limits of online influence. For years, Ruby Franke was known as the face of a wildly popular family YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. Launched in 2015, the channel followed Ruby, her husband Kevin Franke, and their 6 children as they navigated everyday life. To viewers, it looked wholesome, structured, and rooted in strong values. Ruby spoke confidently about responsibility, discipline, and moral behavior. Her videos racked up millions of views, and at its peak, the channel had over 2 million subscribers. But even in those early years, something felt off. Fans began noticing Ruby's rigid parenting style. She believed deeply in strict consequences and personal accountability, even for very young children. Stories emerged online, shared by Ruby herself, about withholding meals as punishment, refusing to bring forgotten lunches to school, or denying bedroom doors for privacy violations. At first, these moments sparked debate. Some defended her as a tough but loving parent. Others felt deeply uncomfortable. Still, Ruby continued, and the audience kept watching. The true turning point came when Ruby Franke partnered with Jodi Hildebrandt, a licensed clinical mental health counselor and founder of a self-help program focused on what she called truth-based living. Jodi's philosophy was strict, absolute, and unforgiving. According to her teachings, suffering was often framed as a necessary path to moral clarity, and disobedience was seen not just as misbehavior, but as a deeper spiritual failure. Ruby didn't just adopt these ideas, she embraced them fully. In time, Ruby distanced herself from extended family members who questioned her methods. Her oldest children gradually disappeared from the channel. Eventually, 8 Passengers stopped posting altogether. When Ruby reemerged online, it wasn't as a family vlogger, but as a coach and speaker promoting Jodi's ideology. To the outside world, it looked like a rebrand. In reality, it was something far more alarming. Behind closed doors, Ruby Franke's household was unraveling. According to court records and later testimony, Ruby and Jodi began enforcing extreme forms of discipline on Ruby's 2 youngest children. The punishments were not temporary or symbolic. They were prolonged, severe, and isolating. The children were allegedly deprived of food and water for extended periods. They were forced to perform exhausting physical labor in extreme heat. They were restrained, confined, and told they were, or possessed. These weren't moments of anger. Prosecutors would later argue they were systematic, and no one outside the home knew the full extent, until one moment changed everything. In August 2023, a malnourished child escaped from Jodi Hildebrandt's home in southern Utah. Barefoot and visibly injured, the child knocked on a neighbor's door and asked for food and water. When police arrived, they described the child as emaciated, with deep wounds consistent with being tied up. Soon after, another child was found inside the home in a similar condition. The story exploded. Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt were arrested that same day and charged with multiple counts of aggravated child abuse. The details that followed were horrifying, not just for viewers who once watched Ruby's videos, but for anyone trying to understand how this could have happened in plain sight. The documentary dives deep into this moment, the arrest, the body cam footage, and the shockwaves that followed. But what makes it especially powerful is that it doesn't begin with the crime. It begins with the persona. It shows how Ruby Franke built trust with her audience, how she positioned herself as a moral authority, and how that authority slowly became unquestionable, first online, then at home. Former fans describe feeling confused, betrayed, even complicit. They had defended Ruby in comment sections. They had repeated her parenting advice. And now they were forced to reconcile those memories with the reality of abused children. That emotional whiplash is at the heart of why this case resonates so deeply. As the legal process unfolded, more disturbing information came to light. Prosecutors alleged that Ruby Franke actively participated in the abuse, not as a passive follower, but as a willing enforcer of the ideology she and Jodi shared. Text messages, journals, and witness statements painted a picture of escalating cruelty justified through belief. In February 2024, Ruby Franke pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. In a rare and emotional courtroom moment, she addressed the court, expressing remorse and acknowledging the harm she caused. But for many, the apology felt too late. She was sentenced to 4 consecutive prison terms, each ranging from 1 to 15 years. While the exact length of time she will serve depends on parole decisions, the maximum sentence could keep her incarcerated for decades. Jodi Hildebrandt also pleaded guilty and received a similar sentence. The documentary doesn't just focus on Ruby and Jodi, it also explores the impact on the children, carefully, respectfully, and without exploitation. It highlights how trauma doesn't end when abuse stops. Recovery is long, complicated, and deeply personal. It also examines the role of institutions. How did this go unnoticed for so long? What systems failed? And what responsibility do online platforms have when creators turn their influence into something harmful? These questions don't have easy answers, but the documentary refuses to look away from them. One of the most unsettling themes running through the story is how belief can become a weapon. Ruby Franke didn't see herself as abusive. According to her own writings, she believed she was saving her children. That conviction, unchecked, reinforced, and isolated from dissent, became incredibly dangerous. The film draws parallels to other cases where rigid ideology, combined with authority, led to harm. It doesn't sensationalize. Instead, it asks viewers to sit with the discomfort of realizing how thin the line can be between guidance and control. Another powerful element of the documentary is its exploration of family vlogging culture. For years, children have grown up on camera, their lives monetized and their privacy blurred. In Ruby Franke's case, the audience wasn't just watching, they were validating her worldview. The documentary raises a difficult question: when does sharing family life cross into exploitation? And who is responsible when the camera turns off? Former insiders, experts, and journalists help unpack how the pressure to perform perfection online can feed extreme behavior behind the scenes. When identity becomes content, accountability can disappear. The story of Ruby Franke isn't just about one woman's fall. It's about the systems that enabled her rise, the silence that allowed the abuse to continue, and the culture that rewarded certainty over compassion. That's why this case continues to dominate conversations long after the headlines faded. It forces us to examine how we consume content, who we trust, and what we're willing to overlook when someone claims moral authority. As the documentary comes to a close, it leaves viewers with more than shock. It leaves them with responsibility. Responsibility to listen to children. Responsibility to question absolutes. Responsibility to understand that harm doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks organized, confident, and convincing. Ruby Franke's story is a chilling reminder that cruelty can hide behind a smile, and that belief, when stripped of empathy, can become one of the most dangerous tools of all. If you found this deep dive meaningful, make sure to like this video. It really helps the channel reach more people who care about thoughtful, responsible true crime storytelling. Subscribe for more in-depth documentaries and analysis, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. These stories matter, and staying informed is the first step toward preventing the next one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.